thinking about it, Rick, and the reason.
Hi, everyone. This is Rick from TASA. Thank you all for joining us. We are going to give it a couple more minutes. It is 1:31, and I want to be very respectful of Ena's time. So I just want to make sure that we give folks some time to log on and to get all settled in before we get started. So hang tight. And everyone is going to be muted. And as soon as we get started, I'll give you guys just some housekeeping rules and some information about the webinar. Okay? Okay, everyone. We'll give everyone. There's about 25 people on right now, and I want to give. We had about 50 people that were registered, so I want to give everyone a chance to get on. So just give me a couple more minutes. We'll get started at about 1:35. All right, everyone. Welcome to our May kind of webinar series. I'm going to give our speaker an opportunity to introduce herself and tell you more about her. But I just wanted to thank you all for being here on a Friday this afternoon. Again, my name is Rick Gibrich, and I'm the Director of Program Support and Training for TASA, which is the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. And we have kind of found a new normal, right? And so this is a very weird time that we're all living in, and part of a way to keep education going and keep information kind of out into the field and into a lot of our membership and folks that kind of work in this movement. We're going to be doing a series of webinars. Last week we started with some self-care. This week is another self-care webinar. And we're going to be doing this kind of throughout the summer into August, and we'll keep you posted on all of that information. So just on the onset, everyone is muted. However, Ena has said that she would like as much participation as possible. So I'm going to manage the chats, and I'm going to manage any questions that you guys might have. So feel free to use that feature. Depending on how you're watching, if you're watching on your laptop, usually the chat feature is on the very bottom of the Zoom screen. If you're watching on a phone or an iPad or any kind of tablet, it's usually at the very top. You have to click on the three dots and it'll say chat on there. There's also a raise your hand feature. So if you have a question, I see Pamela Donnelly has raised her hand. I'll get to you in 1 second if you have a legit question or if you were just testing it. But there's also a raise your hand feature. So raise your hand and I will call on you as well. And we will go from there. So thank you guys very much for participating. We're on till, I think 3 o'clock. Double check that, yes. So we will take any questions, take any concerns that you guys have, and I want you to enjoy it. So, I'll turn it right over to you. And I think you're on mute, so.
Thanks, Rick. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday, and thank you so much for coming on a Friday afternoon to this workshop. I'm really honored that you decided to spend your Friday afternoon with me. And I wanted to kind of start off by saying that, like kind of what Rick said, this workshop is very participant heavy. It's all about you, your process, your thoughts. So I really want to emphasize that, this is a space that will work only if there is participation. So you may be asked to read a poem, a part of a poem, asked to share thoughts, and if you feel comfortable, your writings. And this is a space to heal. It's a space to process and be creative. So with all that being said, I invite you to light some incense if you have some. I know I will be lighting some incense right now. And then I have some essential oil here with me. So if you're into that, please, claim this space as your own, whatever that looks like for you. For me, it's all about, making it feel like home, and so it smells like home. So yeah, I encourage, if you want to take a moment to do that right now, please do so. Get your favorite tea or drink, get a snack. So this is as much of your space as it is mine. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen and you can see my presentation. All right. Okay, so writing for your sake, affirming yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So the goals for this workshop is to really center you and your current reality, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. This is a space for all of us to process and allow for us to connect to our emotions, connect to each other, to reflect, and to share insight. So like I said before, this is a very participant heavy workshop. So this is a space for us to share our insights, share our realizations. And when we do so, to make this space as safe as we can, I do ask everybody to be respectful of, the writings that people may share, the thoughts they may share, because we are all in our own different process, which is so unique. So yeah, these are the goals for this workshop for me. So a little bit about me. I am queer, I'm Bengali, and I'm an immigrant. I was born in India, and I migrated, well, my parents migrated and took me with them to Houston. So I was raised in the suburbs of Houston, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. So why writing? writing can most definitely be something that many of us identify with, but some of us may still ask, why writing as a form of self-care? For me, writing feels like a way to remember, as a way to never forget what we've experienced, and to like kind of memorialize our lives. It's to be in charge of our own healing, and to be in charge of something also means to be responsible for it. And so writing feels like the kind of tool, for me at least, where I feel like I'm in charge of that healing. I wanted to read a little bit of Joy Harjo's comment on writing. She's actually was the U.S. Poet Laureate in June 2019, and is now recently was re-chosen, is that a word? Chosen again to be the U.S. Poet Laureate. So I'm so happy for her. So go Joy Harjo. But anyway, we'll be reading a poem by her later. She says that I feel strongly that I have a responsibility to all the sources that I am, to all past and future ancestors, to my home country, to all places that I touch down on and that are myself. She goes on to say that, she feels responsible to all women, all people, all earth. And in a strange kind of sense, writing frees me to believe in myself, to be able to speak, to have voice, because I have to. It is my survival. So I just thought that was really powerful, and really puts into perspective, what writing can do for us. Writing to me feels like a testament, and something that we can kind of pass on to others, and to celebrate ourselves, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So with that being said, I kind of wanted us to start off with a warm-up, because some of us may not be writing for our personal healing, or we're all in different kind of processes with the writing. So I wanted us to start off feeling kind of loose and warmed up for this little workshop. So first thing is to release the blockage from your hands. So what this looks like is you take your palm and you put your opposite hand's finger on your palm, and you start rotating to the left. So I invite you to do that now. So start rotating your finger to the left on your palm, and kind of imagine all the things that have been, that you would like to release. These could be things that are no longer serving you. It could just be exhaustion from the week. Maybe you just want to verbalize and let go of something. So you can say it too, while you're doing it. And just take deep breaths for me while you do this, because it may be heavy. So let's take a moment to do that. And the opposite palm, whenever you're ready, also circling to the left. Inhaling through your nose. Exhaling through your mouth. So whenever you feel ready to move on, we'll do the opposite. So instead of moving your fingers to the left, you'll move it towards the right. And so when you're moving your fingers in a circular way on your palm to the right, you're affirming everything. You're asking for the things that you need. You're giving gratitude to yourself or to someone else this week. So let's take a few moments to do that as well. Moving the finger to the right. And keep taking those deep breaths. So we're inhaling through our nose. Exhaling through our mouths. Thank you if you participated in that. If you didn't, it's okay. The next thing we'll do is stretch our hands and our wrists. So what that looks like could be for you, if you feel comfortable, kind of moving your hand like this, making a fist, and then releasing it. Kind of like making a star with your hand, reaching. So you're stretching out your hand. I know a lot of us work at the computer. We work at our desks. We're constantly like this. So just stretching out our palms. And then another thing you can do to release your wrist, if you feel comfortable, if that's within your capacity. If it hurts, don't do it. But another thing you could do is stretch your wrists. So you take your left hand, hold your right palm, your right fingers, and stretch it like this. Now your stretch might just be up to here, which is fine. But you just want to kind of stretch your wrists and release them, kind of using your fingers as almost like a seesaw and stretching your wrists out. And you might feel a nice little stretch there, which feels really great if you're always at the computer. And you can do the opposite too, which is moving it back this way. Like this. So I hope that feels good. I mean, those are things you can take every day. You could do after, you've been at your desk for like an hour or two, is just stretching your wrists out like that and letting your wrists take some time. Even rotating it like this is great. So those are just ways to kind of get your hands to be more active and getting in the mood to write. And the last thing I want us to do is to create some energy in our hands. So if you're able, I would recommend you do this. You don't have to do it super fast, but just kind of rubbing your hands together, feeling that nice little kinetic energy there, that warmth. So I hope that was good and felt good to folks. I know my hands feel really charged now with the nice little rub at the end. So I invite you to continue doing that, throughout your day. But I wanted us to kind of feel that warming sensation as we delve into writing today. So I'm going to move from our presentation here to the poems. So we're going to be reading about 4 poems today. And I need two readers for this first poem we're going to be reading, called Texture for Untreated. So do we have any volunteers? I'll need 2 folks to read.
Hey everyone, if you would like to volunteer, either raise your hand or put yourself in the chat as a volunteer, and I will unmute you. Okay, we have 2 volunteers already. So Hale Cochran, 1 second, Hale, and Carrie Black. So we'll go with Hale first. And Hale, you are unmuted.
Hey Hale. Okay, so the first poem you'll be reading from The Kinks to At the End of Creation. So the first paragraph and then that last little kinetic creation bit. So go ahead.
Can you show me where that is? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it.
It's okay. So you start right here, the kinks and coils, and end right here. So that's the part you're reading.
Oh, I think on the screen we're seeing your PowerPoint still.
Oh, okay, I see. Let me pull it up. Do you see my screen now?
We do, and it's on the warm-up slide.
Okay. Let me stop the share and then.
I see it now.
Okay.
The kinks and coils that sprout out of my scalp. I lost it.
I think it went away.
It went away.
You can't see it anymore?
No.
Let me.
See it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. Keeping us on our toes. It's great. The kinks and coils that sprout out of my scalp are connecting fibers between me and my ancestors, between I and me, between the energy fields and I, kinetic creation.
Thank you. And the next reader?
The next reader is Carrie Black. And Carrie, I think you are unmuted.
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The twisting motion of my shea butter fingers mirrored by rows of antenna, feeling what I feel, it being what you felt.
Thank you.
And Ena, I just want to let you know, just in case anyone has any issues with seeing some of the things when she calls on you, I did put a link to the actual documents that Ena is going to be using in the chat box. So you just copy that link if you can't already click on it, but copy that link and open it up in a browser, and you'll have access to all of the information that she's going over right now.
So it's a very short poem, but it speaks to, you know, this writer, Banji Chona, how she connects to her ancestors through her hair. If anybody had any thoughts about that, you can raise your hand to share how you feel about the poem, or, you know, what it invoked in you. It's not, I just want to give people space to process this poem. Rick, folks are saying that they don't see the link.
Yeah, sorry, y'all. It's says for me to all panelists and attendees, but I will double check it and send it again and make sure that I'll just send it again. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
There we go.
So if anyone had anything to share about the poem, it's a good time to share, but we can also move on. It's not necessary. Just want to give people some time to process, and also to have the link to read it themselves if they want. Okay, so if not, we can move on to the next poem. So this poem is called A Sacred Connection to the Sun, and it's by Joy Harjo, who we just read about how writing is important to her. So I need 5 readers for this poem. Do we have any volunteers?
So we have one so far, Monica Urbanik. Do you want to wait until we have all the volunteers, or do you just want to go as they come?
I can actually start reading the first paragraph, and then Monica, you can take the second one, and then hopefully more folks volunteer.
Great, so Monica and then Hale again, and Jasmine Ayala, and then Virginia Rueda, and one more.
I can start.
Okay,
Thank
go ahead.
y'all. All right, so A Sacred Connection to the Sun by Joy Harjo. I believe in the sun, in the tangle of human failures of fear, greed, and forgetfulness. The sun gives me clarity. When explorers first encountered my people, they called us heathens, sun worshippers. They didn't understand that the sun is a relative and illuminates our path on this earth.
Many of us continue ceremonies that ensure a connection with the sun. After dancing all night in a circle, we realize that we are a part of a larger sense of stars and planets dancing with us overhead. When the sun rises at the apex of the ceremony, we are renewed. There is no mistaking this connection, though Walmart may be just down the road. Humans are vulnerable and rely on the kindnesses of the earth and the sun. We exist together in a sacred field of meaning.
A few weeks ago, I visited some friends at a pueblo for a feast day celebration. The runners were up at dawn and completed a ceremonial the runners were up at dawn and completed a ceremonial race that ensures that the sun will continue to return. It is a humble and necessary act of respect. And because the celebration continues, the sun, the earth, and these humans are still together in a harmonious relationship.
Our earth is shifting. We can all see it. I hear from my Inuit and Yupik relatives up north that everything has changed. It's so hot. There is not enough winter. Animals are confused. Ice is melting.
You can read the next one too.
The quantum physicists have it right. They are beginning to think like Indians. Everything is connected dynamically at an intimate level. When you remember this, then the current wobble of the earth makes sense. How much more oil can be drained without replacement, without reciprocity?
One day recently, I walked out of a hotel room just off Times Square at dawn to find the sun. It was the fourth morning since the birth of my fourth granddaughter. This was the morning I was to present her to the sun as a relative, as one of us. It was still dark, overcast as I walked through Times Squares. I stood beneath a 21st century totem pole of symbols of multinational corporations made of neon.
The sun rose up over the city, but I couldn't see it amidst the rain. Though I was not at home, bundling up the baby to carry her outside, I carried this newborn girl within the cradle board of my heart. I held her up and presented her to the sun, so she would be recognized as a relative, so that she won't forget this connection, this promise, so that we all remember the sacredness of life. Thank y'all for sharing and for volunteering to read. Did anyone have any thoughts they wanted to share about this poem? To me, I like this poem because I like how it kind of moves from this ancient time, from the beginning of time, kind of the beginning of, life as we know it, to this new relative in Joy's family. So I just love the way she knits the way time moves together. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Denise has her hand up, so Denise, go ahead.
For me, this was the rhythm and the flow of it, even though it was paragraphs and complete sentences, was very lulling, I think, and very, it felt like it was swaying, like the words were saying, the rhythm, the cadence of the words were swaying, and it was interesting to me to make that connection to remembering the connection with the earth and the reciprocity of that connection, especially with what's happening now amongst everything. Like now people are coming out, you see people walking down the street more, you see people out playing more, like outside. Just that reciprocity, that kind of shift, that balance that's starting to return now that things have kind of shut down. So that juxtaposition of how stressful everything is and how scary everything is. But on the other hand, it feels like a return to what should have been, and it's a reminder of what could still be. So that just reminded me of all of that.
Thank you. Yeah.
And Ena, there are some comments in the chat if you want to address those, or I can read them. I'm not sure if you can see them.
Oh yeah, I can read them. Someone said, reminds me of my favorite scene in Lion King and the joy we feel lifting our children up in praise. Oh yeah, and I didn't think about that. I really connected with it because I've been trying to reconnect myself to nature for the last few years, and it feels comforting to find other people with the same priorities.
Someone else said that they love the way energy is referenced and connected to creation.
Beautiful. Thank y'all so much. Those are all such great thoughts and great things to kind of keep mulling on and thinking about. So we're going to segue into our writing prompt. And the 2 prompts I have for you today are based on the 2 poems we just read. So you can continue referring to those 2 poems now that you have the link while you do this writing. So the first prompt is, can you see it, by the way?
No, we can see the sacred connection to the sun.
Okay, I think, okay, let me stop sharing and then I'll share. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, y'all can see the writing prompt?
Yes,
Okay.
texture for it, and then what is your connection to your ancestors? That's what we see.
Yes, okay. So the slide that we have up is on the next writing prompt. So we're gonna have 1 prompt for each poem, and you can choose which one you wanna write about. So the first poem that we read, Texture 4 Untreated by Banji Chona. To that, the prompt is, what is your connection to your ancestors? What makes you feel closer to those who came before you? And I want to define ancestors because, some people may think it's just the biological, like people who are biologically related to you, but ancestors can also mean, people, figures who have paved the way for you, people who you believe are still with you, supporting you, carrying you on. So there can definitely be a spiritual component to the idea of an ancestor, somebody like who is guiding you, protecting you, has your best interests in mind. Someone that you pay respects to. So, the definition of an ancestor could be broad, and it's up to you to define that. And the second prompt is for A Sacred Connection to the Sun by Joy Harjo. And the prompt is, what do you need to connect with when you need to take care of you? So kind of thinking about, what are the things that you need when you feel like you need something to hold you up for that release or for protection or for tenderness, whatever that looks like. So let's take about 6-7 minutes to do that. And then we'll regroup and do some sharing. And I'll start the timer now. We have about 3 more minutes. This is a good time to start wrapping up. All right, y'all. So hopefully this was enough time and you're wrapping up. So let's hear some thoughts on the prompt, maybe some things that you felt or were thinking about. I definitely want to hear people's writing, but I know that can feel really intimate, so no pressure at all. But I would love to, love to read. So yeah, please raise your hand if you want to share, or even in the chat, want to share some thoughts, please do so.
Marcia Colvin has her hand raised. So 1 second, Marcia. And you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, I think it unmuted, yes?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Hi.
Do you really want me to read what I wrote?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Ancestors is an ugly word in my family. There was so much pain and little relief in my youth. Adulthood has taught me to create my safe space and to cultivate my tribe. My tribe are now my ancestors, those who make loving spaces for me to grow. They challenge my abilities and tend to me like a favorite flower garden. My tribe are my ancestors by choice. That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marcia. I love that.
Carrie Black has her hand raised. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay. This is for the first prompt as well. Sorry, you can probably hear baby crying in the background. But I will go ahead and read what I wrote. I am maybe white ash, only part of the ember from which the phoenix has risen, hillbilly, redneck, moving closer to the city, but not further from the holler.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
I love it. Keep them coming. Any last thoughts people want to share before we move on? Let's also take a deep breath, because that may or may not have been heavy, but let's take a deep breath together. So I want you all to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth, releasing. Let's do that one more time. Inhaling through our nose, exhaling through our mouth. This is great. Any last thoughts?
Someone just put something in the chat.
Someone said, I have always felt like the sun was a loving touch from God. Oh my God, I love that. Yes. I'll share just a little bit about the sun, which reminded me of the chat, that the comment that was just said. I remember when I was little, my grandma would take me up to the rooftop, and she would like butter me up with mustard oil. And it was always like right in the morning when the sun was at its highest. And well, it's not at its highest, but like the sun was out. And I remember, my grandma telling me that was like so that the baby would feel really strong, would have strong skin, and, would have strong bones. And I just hold that really close. So that reminded me, that comment definitely reminded me of that memory. Thank you. So if folks are done sharing, we can move to the next two poems. And I'm gonna do it right this time. Okay. Share screen. Okay. And people can see the Word doc? So I need one volunteer for this next poem. Y'all can see the screen? Yes?
Yes, we can see it on our end.
Okay. Let me get one volunteer for this poem by Lucille Clifton.
Denise.
Yay! Go, Denise.
Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model, born in Babylon, both non-white and woman. What did I see to be except myself? I made it up, here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight, my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed.
Thanks, Denise. So what are your thoughts about this poem? Okay, if there are no thoughts, we can move towards our last poem of the workshop. Oh, somebody has said something. Denise said the idea of not having a model resonated. Yeah. So we'll get into that in our prompt for sure. And then this last poem is called Affirmation by Asada Shakur. It's a little bit longer, and I will need 3 volunteers for this poem.
I'll read one of them.
Okay, so each volunteer will read 2 of the verses. So if you don't mind Rick reading the first 2, that would be perfect.
I believe in living. I believe in the spectrum of beta days and gamma people. I believe in sunshine, in windmills and waterfalls, tricycles and rocking chairs. And I believe that seeds grow into sprouts, and sprouts grow into trees. I believe in the magic of the hands and in the wisdom of the eyes. I believe in rain and tears and in the blood of infinity. I believe in life. And I've seen the death parade march through the torso of the earth, sculpting mud bodies in its path. I have seen the destruction of the daylight and seen bloodthirsty maggots prayed to and saluted.
Thank you. Any volunteers for the next 2?
Carrie Black?
Go for it.
I have seen the kind become the blind and the blind become the bind in one easy lesson. I have walked on cut glass. I have eaten crow and blunder bread and breathed the stench of indifference. I have been locked by the lawless, handcuffed by the haters, gagged by the greedy. And if I know anything at all, it's that a wall is just a wall and nothing more at all. It can be broken down.
Thank you. I believe in living. I believe in birth. I believe in the sweat of love and in the fire of truth. And I believe that a lost ship, steered by tired, seasick sailors, can still be guided home to port. That was our last poem. What are your thoughts? What came up for you in this poem? And you can also refer to the poem we read before this one by Lucille Clifton. Someone said resilience. Yes. What else? Someone said affirmation resonates with me. Beautiful poem. Someone said, from the way life is described, it reminds me that everything is living, whether animated or inanimated. Yes. Someone else said, this one resonated with me given current circumstances and feelings of uncertainty shared by many, yet hope still exists. Yeah. I love it. I love all these reflections. Someone else said, I have seen the death parade. Very powerful line. Yeah. Someone else said, bloodthirsty maggots seems appropriate given our current situation, LOL. Oh, Lord. That's horrible, but we have to find humor in these situations. Anybody else? I love all these thoughts. Such great things to keep thinking about as we move into our writing prompts and, reflect on as we do our own writing. For me, the reason I chose both these poems is because what someone said, resilience, and I feel like they both speak to that. But I also think they speak to something really beautiful, which I feel like our ancestors did and we continue to do, which is creating our own space, and doing it without the support or the resources that we may need, but doing it anyway because we know it's important. And so though it does definitely speak on our hardships, I feel like it also speaks to our triumphs. Someone said, I'm thinking about our children living through this pandemic, being the seeds/sprouts that will grow into trees. Yeah. Oh, and then Denise said, I like the thought of breaking down and returning home. Yeah, that we always have a place to go back to when we're broken down. Yeah. Any last thoughts? All right, I'm gonna go back to this presentation. Yeah, y'all can see this now? The slide?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, great. I need validation. So this is our last writing prompt. Two different ones. So the first one is for the poem Won't You Celebrate With Me by Lucille Clifton. The prompt is write about your triumphs. This may relate to your day job, your life's work, your spiritual journey, and any personal victories, big or small. So, write about your victories, whatever that looks like for you. And I wanted to keep this super open-ended so that you are, in control of what you talk about in this space. And then second prompt is for the poem Affirmation by Sada Shakur. And the prompt is write a letter to your future descendant. This letter may include affirmations that have given you strength, words of wisdom from your own experiences, or those lessons that were given to you by past generations. So in our last two prompts, we kind of looked back at our ancestors, we looked towards ourselves and what connected us to the things that we need. And so now we're kind of making the shift towards the future with this last prompt. What are some things that you want to give to someone who may read this 20 years from now or 30 years from now? So let's take about 9-10 minutes and do some nice writing with that time. And feel free to look over the poems again with the link that you got. So happy writing. We have about 2 minutes left, so hopefully we're close to wrapping up and to our final thoughts. All right, folks. So hopefully that was good enough time. By all means, keep writing while we share. So what came up for you? You can talk us through the process of writing and what you did and what you were thinking of. If you feel comfortable sharing what you wrote, I'd love to hear it. Or like, what breakthroughs did you realize or did you make? Because this might be an opportunity for someone else to feel, to hear that and feel like connected to that breakthrough as well. Someone said, this is where my brain went and then got stuck. Oh, okay. So I'll read it. Take time to exist. Listen to the feelings that the world keeps trying to convince you to ignore. Breathe deep and connect. You are not an apology, you are an answer. No justification needed or explanation required. Ooh, wow, that is powerful. Powerful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. I love that. Yeah, let's keep hearing that. Hearing different thoughts you may have had, different things. You can also raise your hand and Rick will unmute you if you want to talk instead of doing chat. Yeah.
Carrie, 1 second. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Carrie.
Okay, I will just throw caution to the wind and read what I wrote. It's pretty personal, and it's kind of a stream of consciousness. Being cut open shouldn't feel like a triumph, but I have done it twice. Abdomen exposed, intestine shifted to allow access to the womb, blood and amniotic fluid entangled on the floor, dancing together on the doctor's shoes and in the nurse's footprints. Some claim cesarean isn't birth, that the accomplishment is in the push, the sweat, the pain, the stretching beyond imagination, but I have stretched and morphed and bled and cried. I have refused the opiates because of my sister's disease, and believe me, there is pain. I have celebrated and I have grieved and celebrated again. I have made lunches of breaded chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and all the non-organic things I swore I'd never feed them, but I have also seen their smiles, have been the source of their joy, and in that I am victorious.
Wow, beautiful. I love that. I love all the imagery and all of the, yeah, that was amazing. Someone said amazing. I loved all the imagery in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's hear some more. You know, what was the process like? What things came up for you even in the process of writing? Because sometimes that's where the breakthroughs happen, you know, is when we put pen to paper, not necessarily always what's on paper.
Okay. Hold on. I think Marcia Colvin had her hand up.
Yeah.
And then after Marcia is Patty. So Marcia, do you want to raise your hand again? I'm sorry. There you are. Go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, so as a person who has struggled with depression, among other things, it kind of brought that up a little bit about the celebrate with me. So again, I agree with Carrie, a little personal, but here goes. I woke up today and got out of bed. I dressed and made plans. So many days this is a struggle. Why is the question so often at the top of my tongue? What's the use? Then I remember that someone out there can't get up. They are paralyzed by the thought of day-to-day life. This could easily be me any day. So I celebrate that I got up and I got dressed. I admire my ability to push through and make plans. I jubilate in the completion of thoughts and the acts that support myself.
Marsha, I don't know what happened. I can't hear you anymore.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know where I got dropped off. But the very last is, I laud others who do the same. I try to provide encouraging words and deeds to those who struggle. And I celebrate that I got out of bed today.
Thank
I
you, Marcia.
love that. Thank you. Yes, I love it.
We also have one more. Patty, is it Patty Koo or Co?
Yes, Patty Koo.
Go for it.
I had to leave for 5 minutes because I get a FaceTime every day from my newborn grandson, my first grandchild, in New York. And so this is to him. May you rise, may you fall, and rise again. May you remember the falls as much as the risings, knowing they go together. And together we rise and fall, each one of us, sharing our brokenness and healing.
Thank you so much, Patty. That was beautiful.
Thanks.
I love that. Anybody else wanted to share? And you know, these, go ahead, were you going to say something, Rick?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone that if you're putting a comment in the chat, make sure that you're sending it to all panelists and attendees, because sometimes it defaults to either all panelists, which means that only Ena and I are getting it. We want to make sure that everyone can see what you're saying. Carrie Black, for instance, complimented Marcia and Patty as well. And she said, I love that, Marcia. And she said, wow, beautiful, Patty. But it only came to us as a panelist. We wanted to make sure that the attendees could see it as well.
Thanks, Rick. I also wanted to say that, you know, for folks who may have chosen the writing a letter to your future descendant prompt, that's a great kind of exercise to do, you know, as a way to really write those letters. And maybe you keep them tucked away, maybe you put them in an envelope with an address. Maybe you write it to a specific somebody like Patty did. And yeah, so that's definitely a prompt that, you know, you can take with you, and hopefully something that you can continue to do. So I encourage folks to write down these prompts so that in the future, if you ever need a little bit of writing, a little bit of healing through writing, you can hold on to these prompts. So let's take a few more minutes to share, and then and maybe y'all can jot down the prompts that you want to keep, and then we'll go back to the first two prompts and people can jot those down too, in case you ever want to use them in the future. Anybody else? What else came up for folks? What are some thoughts, or even, you know, what does the process of writing this prompt look like for you? So I'm gonna go back to the first prompt, and then we can copy those down too.
Hey, Ena, Denise has her hand up. 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
So you were asking about like the process of writing and what that was like. I think even now, like when you think about writing, for me at least, it's overwhelming to look at a piece of paper and think about filling it. Like that's just a lot. It's overwhelming, and sometimes it's discouraging. I get lost in thought, or I get lost in emotion, and I'm not sure how. I struggle to channel it. And having this workshop is really helpful because having the poem gives you that kind of structure. And so it doesn't even have to be about you. It's just your reaction to the poem or just your thought about it. And then it kind of turns into something else. And it's, for me, it's just that much more approachable and doable for me. Like it doesn't feel overwhelming anymore. It feels like a release. It feels like getting something out in a way that's just not too overwhelming, seeing that blank page and thinking like, I don't know what to put in there. I don't know how to focus or concentrate. Doing it this way was really helpful. For me at least, it was really helpful. And I'm really appreciative of the time and energy you took to select the poems and think about the writing prompts and think about the pacing of what this webinar would look like, of the sharing of all of that. I'm especially grateful for this space, so thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Yeah, that's so real. I mean, can definitely be so daunting to look at a piece of paper and wonder like what am I going to put on here, or what am I even feeling? Yeah, and so prompts are a great way to do that for sure. And also reading. I think reading allows us to kind of exercise that part of our brain where we're like, if I wrote this, what would it sound like? Um, like I know the poem by Asada Shakur, Affirmation, starts with I believe in blank, so even starting off with like fill in the blank sentence like that. I believe in blank. So what do you believe in? And you can just start writing from there. So it's pretty cool to kind of like have have this space to read other people's writing and to kind of turn it around so that you're the one who's writing, a piece of their work, which is kind of what we have been doing here. We've been inspired by these writers and we're taking from their work, but inserting our own, experiences, memories, opinions, beliefs. And it's just so exciting because we get to learn about ourselves through that. Someone said, when you were speaking just now, it made me think the affirmations prompt is also a great way to write down the words that are shared with us, to reflect and look back on, especially those that are no longer physically with us. Oh yeah, So we did talk about, let me go back to this prompt. So, we did talk about including the lessons that were given to us by past generations. That's definitely a beautiful point. Like this is also, as much as it is a letter to future generations, it's also a reminder to us, things that we may have, without even knowing it, have stored in our minds and our memories that continue to serve us. Yeah, that's such a great observation. Thank you, Hale. Anybody else wanted to share? And we're kind of reaching the end of our workshop. So even just overall reflections, overall thoughts. I would love to hear more from folks who haven't spoken yet. Yeah. Oh, and I also meant to say, I'd also love to take questions that people had and about the writing process, and something that I guess when Denise was talking, I was thinking about too, like if people have any questions. And, yeah, and even frustrations, right? It doesn't all have to be positive. Like, what were you frustrated by during this time? What was that about? So I would love to hear all of that. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing so you can focus on kind of ending this time that we had together. Thank you so much for being present and for being here. I just wanted to honor every one of you who attended and took part in this. Thank you so much for being here for you, and thank you for being here for others. And I wanted to kind of wrap this up with some mindful breathing. So some things that may have been coming up for us was apparent in our writing or in our thought process right now. So kind of ending this session, ending the week, I want us to take the last few minutes to make a list. Now, this list could be about really anything that brings us gratitude, but I want us to focus on the things that we did for us this week. So it could be from anything from brushing our teeth, brushing our teeth, getting out of bed. And oh, Rick said, hi there, 1 second, I'll have her get to your questions. Oh, sorry, was there a question?
Yeah, Patty
Oh,
actually had.
go for it. Sorry, Patty.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to ask you, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your ending. That was great. I was getting ready to write. I was just gonna ask you, how has the pandemic affected your writing?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Honestly, I know for a lot of folks, the pandemic has kind of created a writing block. For me, I've just been trying to take this time to reflect. And so I've been reading a lot of poems and literature from other people, and kind of using that as a way to propel me towards my own writing. I'm very emotionally motivated. So like if I feel very emotional, like very inspired by this feeling that this poet captured, I want to go and write it too. So that's kind of how I function. And so definitely for me has been like read, take time to read, take time to ground yourself in what you're feeling. And I've been journaling a lot more. So it's definitely not very formal writing. Like I'm not expecting, I'm not putting the pressure on me to like produce something, but definitely using writing as a tool to feel grounded and like just know where is my head at right now.
Thank you. Nice.
Thank you. That's a great question. And I also have been attending writing workshops, so that's been really helpful too. To be around other writers has also been super helpful. I'm sorry, did anybody else have questions? I didn't want to speak over people. If not, hopefully you've already started doing the last kind of exercise, which is just writing a list of stuff that you did this week. Give yourself some glory, you know, acknowledge what you've done for yourself this week. And I hope this was a space for folks to just unwind and feel comfortable and grounded. So yeah, let's take like 2-3 minutes to do that. And folks, if you have questions, keep them coming. Oh, someone asked, do you have favorite writers' workshops or websites? Oh, that's a great question. So there is, I'm gonna look them up because I don't want to butcher them. So the Writers League of Texas, they're a great resource. And they actually have events all the time. Like they're having virtual writing sessions and writing workshops. So you can actually find them on Facebook. They're called the Writers League of Texas, and I'll write it out in the chat. And they're great. And I feel like they're based in Austin too. So that's really the primary place I've been looking at. There's also, I think they're called Badger something. Badger. I'm so bad with names, y'all. Badger Dog, that's what it's called. And that's more creative writing, and they are actually part of the Library Foundations program. So you can, I'm sure they have more stuff for like people of all ages, you know, not just adults. So Badger Dog is what they're called. And I actually took a workshop by them last week, and it was pretty cute. It was nice. I think it's good for all, like all range of ability too. So people who are beginners versus more advanced writers. All right, y'all. So I hope you were able to do that little exercise around gratitude. If you wanted to share anything, this is a great time. We'll give a minute or two for folks who want to share anything they're grateful for this week.
I want to say, this is Rick. I want to say that I'm grateful for you, Ena, for this almost perfect way to round out and wrap up the end of the week. This is a really, for me personally, I don't ever really take time to reflect or to kind of look at, you know, how my week has come about, or how my day has come about, or how my hour has come about, or how my minute has come about. I usually will just end something and then move on to the next thing, right? And so practicing mindfulness is very hard for me. But using the prompts that you gave and hearing what other people have said, those are internal conversations that I have with myself all the time. I'm just not mindful of putting them either into action or placing them in this space where I can either revisit or access them when I need to reflect back on them. So this has been a really great way to wrap up the week and wrap up my day. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking your time.
Oh, thanks, Rick. That's so sweet. That's really good to hear. Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear that. I feel like I'm the same way. So I'm really glad we all had this time to reflect and, make space for ourselves. And last thing I wanted to share with y'all was this was just if y'all wanted to email me or, give me any feedback on the writing workshop. I have my email address up here, and then you can follow me on Instagram. It's the @Ena Ganguly, that's the Instagram, and then my email address. So if folks want to send me any feedback, anything that I could improve on, anything they really loved or really didn't like, I would love to hear about it. So we're ending our time together. I will stop share and I'll include it in the chat. Thank y'all so much for being here and for coming out on Friday afternoon. I hope y'all have a great weekend. Yeah, a lot of gratitude to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to put another, just a plug for everyone regarding our next webinar. It's going to be on May 7th at 1:30. And the title of that is Leveraging Local Media for Survivor Support During the COVID-19 Crisis. And that's going to be presented by Brittany Clay, who works in communications for the University of Texas at Austin. And she's actually formerly a communications manager for TASA. So she's brilliant and she's amazing. She's got some really, really great and helpful information to give out. So check your email for that and sign up, please. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ena. Again, you're amazing. You're wonderful. We appreciate the time that you spent with this day. And I want to reiterate again, I cannot think of a better way to end my week and start a couple of days off. So thank you again, and thank you everybody who participated. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. This is recorded, just FYI, and it is, you know what, I'm gonna get back to those folks that, so we always record all of our webinars, and I wanna be really mindful. I'm so sorry, I should have said this before or thought about it before, but it is being recorded, but I'm not going to place this in public space. I'll talk to Ena afterwards, and we'll figure out how we want to do that. But I just wanted to let everyone know that it is recorded, but everyone shared. So let me talk to Ena about that. And for those of y'all that shared, I'll reach out to you privately and see what we can do. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.